Hello, this is God Consent. I'm your host, Mark Reinhardt.
I'm Ross Givens.
Adam Heyman. And Chris Scott.
Yes, we have all four today. Before we get too far into it, if you listen to this, you obviously picked this up off of our Facebook page.
Or YouTube.
Or YouTube, as we're going to be starting on YouTube as well for our videos. But if you want to get in contact with us for any kind of comments we have to say, or you want to join in or bring some stories to us, contact us at godconsentpodcast@mail2noble.com. That's mail as in snail mail. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off today. So who wants to start off today?
I would.
Mark.
Here we go. Freedom Flotilla ready to break through blockade off of Russia today. Yesterday, the Freedom Flotilla was waiting for the last group of campaigners to get on board. A group of European parliamentarians was to set out from Cyprus to join the fleet, but Cyprus authorities would not let them. The parliamentarians, made up of Ireland's Chris Andrews from ruling party Fianna Fáil, Angus O, whatever his name is, from Sinn Féin, and Senator Mark Daly, Swiss PM, and the Swiss Prime Minister. They were all, and then a U.S. citizen whose parents were killed in the Holocaust. Kirak worked.
Alright, there's a lot of names we don't know here because we're Americans and don't speak the languages, including the Irish one he mentioned.
Yes.
Please understand and tell us how we properly sound these wings out.
Thank you. As well as Swedish journalists and writers from Sweden and France. All these people had spent 18 hours trying to board ships in Cypriot harbors to join the Gaza Freedom Flotilla that was waiting for them. And then the more it comes, the flotilla, made up of 9 ships, is to bring 10,000 tons of humanitarian cargo into Gaza, including medicines and notebooks, along with about 700 people. MPs from Israel and Germany, writers, scientists, 2 Al Jazeera camera crews, newswire writers, and TV journalists from Norway, Sweden, Bulgaria, and France. Free Gaza Movement spokesman Greta Berlin, a U.S. citizen, says the aid is to be brought in by the Freedom Flotilla will not be enough to provide all of Gaza's inhabitants with the medicines and essentials they need. The campaign, she stresses, is an act of solidarity with Palestinians who have been suffering an illegal blockade for 3 years while the world community kept silent. According to Ms. Berlin, the flotilla has already achieved its main goal of letting the world community know that injustice that is happening in Gaza has to stop. She also says it was important that the message be delivered by Western politicians and diplomats rather than marginal leftist activist groups. Berlin believes that regardless of whether the last group of campaigners will manage to join the rest of the flotilla, Israel's blockade of Gaza will be breached. The world community's attention is focused on the flotilla's actions, and plenty of resources have been gathered that are to go to the Palestinians. Any thoughts, anyone?
What the... Okay, everybody's pounding on Israel because they're treating the Palestinians badly. Thing is, as effectively or seriously starting with the rocket attacks and them more or less going to war with, was it Hamas or Hezbollah? I can't remember which. It was one of the two. Mm-hmm. And nailing them for attacking civilian targets. Thing is, every single time they shot back, and notice shot back, not shot first, shot back, they targeted the place a rocket was launched from.
There was also...
a lot of these rockets are used by hand thing. You may hit the guy, but you also may hit a bunch of things.
They told everyone, they let several rocket strikes go unanswered, and said, look, keep this crap up, and we're gonna shoot back.
The question that comes to mind that I have been wanting to ask on this issue for many years, since I've heard both sides of the argument, is one, how accurate is the Goldstone report in making the indication that both sides were committing humanitarian crimes? 2, what about hitting a United Nations school filled with school children?
That they knowing full well that they were going to hit any site that launched, they chose, once Israel made that announcement, they stopped launching from their normal positions like an open hillside, an open field, their own munitions dump, and started launching from civilian targets
What
for
about
the purpose of drawing Israeli fire onto those targets.
Okay, what about the first question?
I would let me handle this. Let me handle both sides, okay? Because actually, recently, I did I had to do a piece about a Netanyahu,
Yeah.
okay? Which is he's the leader of Israel. Okay, I
Yeah.
understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in the, I believe it was the mid 70s or 80s, there was actually a peace conference where basically they said, okay, let's stop this and let's come to the table, okay? Because we don't want to hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
all right? Let's shake across this and it will be fine. They agreed to that, but then soon after that, though, the Palestinians have been attacking Israel on and off for a long time now.
There
And
may
they
be
haven't been
according
doing
to-
anything.
According to what I believe mainstream, now I mentioned mainstream, not necessarily mainstream history reckoning, anyways, right? Not the not factuals. Well, anyways, I believe it was that supposedly about 2 or 3 days before Israel actually became a nation, that's when the war more or less started to push them into the sea, as I understood it.
And Israel, actually, they were handed land from England. England said to the Jews,
Balfour Declaration, right?
basically said, here's your land.
Exactly.
Thing is, they bought this land from the people who claimed to own it. Turns out they didn't, but everybody was acting in good faith. When the British were acting in good faith, the Israelis were acting in good faith when they took possession of the land.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that the people who actually owned the land didn't, and Israel tried to make good. They wouldn't hear of it.
Well, also the whole
Israel
thing comes
tried.
from the fact that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And Israel's tried, bent over backwards to try to get along, has said from the get-go they're willing to let the Palestinians have an equal participation in government, not 2 states. They were fine with 1 state.
But that,
And Israel in the mid-'80s said, look, here, let's just wipe the slate clean. Go 2 years without killing us or blowing us up, and you're good. Equal rights, full on. Israel never denied they're treating the Palestinians with second-class citizenship, but have always said, at first it was 2 years. Then it was down to 1 year. Then they even went so far as to say 6 months. Give us 6 months without committing an act of terrorism against us, and you can have full, equal citizenship. And they won't do it.
Well, the thing about it too, though,
They
is
didn't.
people were reporting the fact that many places they used to go in and through eminent domain grab areas to put settlements down. There's been
It's land that's within their
Mhm.
borders, and most of the places that they're pissed off
No,
about is
no.
land that they conquered in wars that were started against them.
as far as the land in building settlements,
Mhm.
which is what the Obama administration came out and criticized Israel for building.
Mhm.
And actually, as you said, it is land they conquered and they have. It's their land, okay. And more than anything, okay, if you understand the reasoning, of course, Netanyahu came out and spoke about this. He had to say this: if you understand what we have been through, everything we've tried to do to reconcile with the Palestinians, more than anything, this is almost it's sort of saying, hey, we're going to continue building this because it's symbolic.
Well,
Um,
frankly, they need the space.
They do.
Wouldn't
Well,
it,
it's really funny you
And-
mentioned this. I'm
and-
sorry, Mark, to jump in as you were going to say something.
okay.
But I was going to mention that underneath the idea that it's within their borders, they can do what they want to it. It's saying, more or less suggesting that individuals, included, mind you, but that the individuals in any nation, basically, right, that the places that they supposedly own, the things that, like, let's say, your house,
Mhm.
for example, right, is not really your property. It's in your usage until the government decides it wants to do something else with that land.
Wouldn't it be prudent if we were to save money to cut all foreign aid to all nations that we were sending aid to?
Yes.
Oh, I've thought, well, that's kind of unrelated here.
Actually, we send foreign aid to Israel.
Yes, but
And
you're
the
kind
Palestinians.
of
We should.